Can everybody hear me okay? Jason Bott, Salt River Project. Scott Hubble also works with me. He cannot be here today, but he's also part of the project. We're just business analysts officially, but we're the AUD guys at SRP. So just to kind of go over this real quick, distribution, basically all work orders that are driven by customers, we do them all in AUD. We don't do anything else in anything else. We are working with system improvements to possibly start integrating with them and some other groups now that we're starting to roll. We are working to expand capabilities of AUD with IT, which we have our two IT guys here, Keenan and Blaine. So that's really good news after all these years. If you guys have seen me, we were all standalone. We have a simple Maximo. It's just to push our materials to Maximo. We just are getting ready to release that. It's nothing fancy. We have about 75 plus users we're using right now that Scott and I support, that are all in production, all designs. Mostly underground, we do have some overhead that we deal with. We have 1.1 electrical customers. I think it's 2 million with our water side. Some of our biggest time savers that a lot of people actually don't know about are the one-line or schematic tools. Those are really useful for us in AUD. Material ordering, engineering, standards, our annotation, and then the way we do our prints is we are very accurate. So when we do our model, it is survey and engineering quality. So, and I'll go ahead and show you guys some of that stuff. I'll show you basically a simple a design. So a lot of people want to ask what our prints look like. This is a basic SRP print. A lot of people think it's really complicated, and somewhat it is. Most people have 1 or 2 prints. We have 3. So we have a schematic layout, a conduit layout, and then we also have a main line. And you can see down here at the bottom, we also have pad details. And then if we keep going down, we also have SRP details. So a simple design that was just a simple Wendy's, we have 2 pages to just SRP details. This is all from our standards book. But we have our main line, which is just a simple 3-phase transformer cut into an SES, and then we cut back out again. So any questions about that, we can discuss later. You guys can always reach out to me, and I can show you some more. So I like to do demos. When I come to these, I like to see what other people are doing, so I'm trying to get to it so that we can go right into it, and that's what we'll jump into. So in AUD, the way we do our model is we draw everything to scale. And what we try to do and what helped a lot of our users is we try to set it up like the field, right? Every design pretty much starts with you have to dig a trench. You have to put in equipment. You have to put conduit in. You have to put cable in. You have to do it per circuit. So that's how we set ours up. So we're drawing a simple trench, let's say 200 feet. And I can put in, let's just say I'll put in a switching cabinet. And we tried to make it very simple for the users because most people that come in, it's basic AutoCAD. So we do everything based off of object snaps. So as long as they're snapping to it, behind the scenes, AUD's automatically doing the connections for me. I don't have to worry about any of that stuff. They just have to worry about trench and devices. I can put in like a 3-phase transformer. Let's say here. And when we place these, you can see it's just an object snap. You can see it's automatically connecting to the trench. You can also rotate them. I'll rotate it upside down just so you can kind of see it later, what it does to our schematic and our one lines. I'll put in a secondary trench on this side, and I'll run an SES, and I'll place that and rotate it. So basically, at this point, I pretty much have the majority of my model done. I have a trench, and I have devices, and I have all those connections. Now all the user has to do is go ahead and place cable and conduit. So if I actually look at this, it's just a piece of trench. That's all it is. And in the real world, when you dig a trench, you're going to put the cable and conduit in. When you're putting in new stuff, it's automatic. So I can pick 3-phase primary conduit and cable, and I can add it to the trench. You just pick a segment, I hit enter, and it'll go ahead and place the cable conduit, does my cable pull automatically. So now if I go look at this line, there's the trench. Inside the trench is the conduit. Inside the conduit is the cable, and there's my bends. So it actually creates it just like the field, just like GIS and all those other things. It's based off a segment. We talk about standards. We talk about engineering. What we used to have a lot of was cheat sheets. Everybody had all these cheat sheets on their stuff. So what we did is we put that into AUD. So if it was this size SES, I needed this many cables, this many conduits, I needed this AFC rating. There was all this information. So we just put it into AUD. As we see here, I can just add service. This is the same service cable. It doesn't matter if it's 3-phase, single phase, whatever it is. It runs the calc based off the SES. So if I pick add service to trench, I hit enter, and you'll see something happen to the transformer. It's kind of hard to see. But if I pick here, you can see that I have 4-inch, I have 25 conduits, 4-inch conduits, and then my cable, I have, let me pull it up. I have 18,750. That's all based off the SES. I don't have to look at anything else. If I was to put this on something else, it would do the same thing. It's just looking at the SES and calculating it for me. Something else with like our engineering standards, you can see when I placed this transformer, it didn't have what we call a basement or basically it's a big feeder pull box that goes out in front. Anything over 13 conduits for us at SRP, we have to rack and encase it, and we have to put this pull box out to give us more room to get into our transformer. People were forgetting that. What's the CU? What's all that stuff? All I had to do was add service to cable. It knew how many conduits. It knew to automatically order that, and my materials are automatically ordered too. So all the stuff that people forget gets automatically done. And basically, that's a model. That's almost ready to go. Another one with engineering, we had a lot of users from an apartment complex that would forget to put the J box underneath the transformer. So basically they said, hey, anytime we put in a service that has a multimeter, can you have it put the J box in automatically? Because people are forgetting those. Yes, we can. So I use the same service trench, and this is a multimeter. I had some of this set up, obviously. And it's hard to see. I should have jumped in here, but you can see that the J box automatically gets added. The CUs are automatically added. The engineering's automatically done. And you can see the trench and the service is obviously different. I have 2 4-inch conduits this time, and I have 500, two runs of 500. I use the same button. It runs the rules to see the SES, looks at that chart that used to be on everybody's wall, and automates it for you. Sure. SES service entrance section, or the panel. Yep, where the meter goes. So that's a good example of that. Now, I can also get into multimeters. Everybody asks about how do you run multiple runs. Like you said, I just have my trench and devices here. So it's the same way. We try to set it up to where, like, how would you pull it if I was the guys pulling the wire, right? It's per circuit. So I can pick single phase, and then I go, okay, I need A phase to go from there to there. I pick that segment or trench, I hit enter. But I can continue to go. Well, then it goes from here. I pick these segments, hit enter. And what we have is the trench will always go to the top. So when it's building this, there's just polylines on top of each other if you look at basic AutoCAD. So what we do is the trench always goes to the top. The user doesn't have to go in and pick it. And then I can go, okay, from the fusing cubicle, it has to go down to B phase. I hit enter. And then I pick this again and pick these segments, and it's going that way. So I'm basically picking the trench of where the cable and conduit's going to go, and it has each of those segments. So if I look at this part of the trench, you're going to see I have basically 3 runs, and I can sort this too. If I go conductor, you can see there's the 3 cables, A, B, C, and if I hover over them, it'll bypass. So if I look at the connected, you can see that it's connected automatically. As long as my trench and devices are connected, my cable and conduit's automatically done. I don't have to worry about any of my connections as a user. There's not a lot. Now, the question is this is all sitting on top of each other. How do I see all that? There's a really cool feature in AUD. It's called AUD Expand. And so we have some rules set up for that, for like if I just want primary, but I can pick this and just select the whole box. It says how far do I want to go? Let's say 10 feet. That way it'll take all the cable and conduit and pull it outside the trench. So I can visually see what's going on inside that trench. Or I can just pick it individually. If I needed to change this, I can pick it and it'll automatically select it in my feature info here. I can do the same thing with the conduits. You can expand all that stuff. And there's expand edit, excuse me. Expand edit is really nice because obviously to write a rule to make sure the offsets are always perfect as we want doesn't always happen. So in expand edit, you can pick just this and it does it in 5-foot increments. You can change that obviously. It's kind of like an offset moving around tool. I can adjust these however I want to make them look whatever I want. So that's how you would do those. And then I basically have, at this point, we use the schematic 1 lines all the time. So I have my model. This is where all my engineering is done, my materials are done, all my calculations are done on this. Now I need everything for my prints. So we basically draw a box around this. It's just a regular rectangle. And we have insert one line set. So I can hit this box and basically it'll create all my one lines for me. So there's my main line, there's my schematic, and there's my conduit. So those prints you guys saw is what gets printed here. I can come in here and I can set the annotation. These are annotative scale, so I could set this to say 1 to 40. You can see all the symbols adjust. I get all my annotation for free, as we saw here. There's all my information that was on those cheat sheets. It's just basic AutoCAD at that point. I'm just moving stuff around, right? I can move this around. I get all the information for it. And then if I need the annotation, we have this set to not show, but I can set it to show, and it'll give me all that information. I can adjust this around. We talked about dynamic blocks. We have some of this built in. If I wanted this to be an arrow, I can make it an arrow instead. I can make it a loop. I could make it no arrow. You can adjust all those. And if I move this, you can see here, if I take this and I go and move this out to make it look right for my print, because obviously we know to scale versus prints never turn out right. I can manipulate this however I want. You can see this footage does not change. The only way that changes is if I update the model. If I say stretch this out 5 more feet, you'll see that it updates on every single layout for me. So now if I go down here, you see the footage has changed. This is also all tied back to the model. So if I'm in here and I realize, oh, I forgot my pad number or equipment number, I could select it in the main line or any of my layouts, and I could come in here and say pad number 1, 2, 3, 4, let's say, hit enter. You can see my pad number updated, but it actually updated it on every single print I have, every single layout. That way I don't have to do it on 3 times. And actually, if I was to go back and look at my actual 2 scale pad, you could see that it did it there too. So I don't have to go update it on 4 prints. I can do it on 1 print. As you see too, it automatically, depending on the rotation here, we also have some dynamic parameters set that basically will always keep it horizontal, and it'll rotate the door face for me automatically. This is our door face, so I don't have to worry about it. Everything stays horizontal. National drafting standards, you keep everything horizontal, vertical. It does that automatically for you based off of whatever the rotation is. So I don't have to worry about making sure things are rotated, nothing that way. With the expand edit, you guys saw I left the cable expanded. When you first create the one lines or schematics, the nice part about it is if I go over to the schematic, it will keep those offsetted lines. So I don't have to worry about doing that. Now you can see on the conduit, I didn't offset it, so they're gonna sit on top of each other. And you can't use basic AutoCAD offset because it'll make it dumb and do all that stuff, so it's a lot of moving around. So a lot of our users will do the expand, get it set for the schematic and conduit, run the one lines, and it's only when it first creates it. So I can go ahead and say collapse all, and it collapses it on my model. It doesn't collapse it on my schematic. And it's just basic AutoCAD. If I needed to connect it to this, our users will just go polyline, 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 and then they just go fill it to that one, fill it to that one, and fill it to that one. It's all still intelligent. If I select this line here, it's still that B phase, single phase primary. I can manipulate this and do whatever I want to it to make my sketch look how I need to print. It does not affect anything else I'm doing. That's the beauty of it. And we use this all the time. I heard some people talk about dynamic blocks. We do have dynamic blocks. So this is a switch, and a lot of our users have to, I want certain things to look a certain way and do certain things. I didn't want to have to create a style for every single combination of this. I would have had to create a new block, a new style to put into AUD. I just have one block with multiple dynamic styles that I can drive for my feature info. So if I wanted the tail of that to face the other way, I'm in the schematic view down here, and I can say I don't want the top tap on the left, I want it on the right. It flips it the other way. Behind the scenes, it's just turning on that dynamic of whatever it is at that point. And then I just connect the dots and go from there. There's a lot of flexibility with it, with existing stuff and all that other stuff. So I tried to go through that fast, sorry. That's kind of a good rough overview. Obviously, we would create title sheets. We have some automated stuff to put in title blocks and stuff like that. And then I just got to create viewports, pulling all the stuff from the project data on there. We don't have the tie to the Maximo yet, but we have all that information. And then there's all my prints. I don't have to worry about it. Our 2-scale pad details you guys saw, that's all based off of this, but that's pretty much it. that's quick and easy. We don't have any integrations. What we tried to focus on is making sure the design is accurate. It's quick and easy for the users to use. And now that we have all this accurate information, and now we have IT getting on board, now we can start doing the integration. So now our integrations are going to be accurate. People are going to want to use it. We've done integrations before where the information's not accurate, and the user's like, well, I'm not going to use it. I'm just going to manually input it. Who cares? So now that we are accurate and we can do that, now we can start doing the integrations. But I guess at that point, any questions? There's Scott Hubble's information and my information if you guys need to email us. I'll be around if you guys want to see more. Like I said, that's just kind of scratching the surface of some of the stuff we're doing with our, just our design only at that point. So any questions?
Want to ask, when Scott's presented in the past, you've streamlined some workflows, you've actually pretty much eliminated some functions. Now that you've been using it for a while, are you starting to get a handle on the productivity benefits you're getting over the old way you used to do it?
Yeah, that's a good question. Some of our older stuff was done in MicroStation, some old processes. A lot of it was handed down from generation to generation. We didn't really have a good training program. We've actually come across really good training now. And actually the tools actually helped us with that. So we've had users that think our transformers are round in the field because that's all they've ever seen is a round transformer. Now that we're drawn to scale and they're having to think about it, when we go to the field and they can compare it, it's actually helped with that. So it has streamlined those. It's improved the process. People are starting to get on board more, and we're seeing a lot better efficiencies on it.